Welcome once again to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game, and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Nolan.
And this is episode 83, and it is a very, very special episode.
Yeah, it is.
Why, you ask? Well, today we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, SNESdrunk, and we're going to be playing the retro video game Mega Man X. But before we actually get to talking about the game itself, we want to introduce you to Mr. Drunk. Would you mind introducing yourself to our viewers and telling us if that's okay if Mr. Drunk is a handle?
That's totally fine. Nobody cares what my real name is. They just know me by my handle, basically. So, yeah, no, I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel, and I look at old video games to see if they're worth playing today. Or in the case of something like Mega Man X, it's why it lives up to the hype. Because most of us have all heard all about Mega Man X for, how many years now? Almost 25 years. Yeah. So it's like, hey, is this game, what's the deal with this game? What makes it so good? So I like to take a look at kind of an analytical approach at older games.
Love it. And sounds very similar to another group of guys that get together and do some of the same stuff. Now, is alcohol involved?
I had to pick a name. It's kind of like, remember when you joined AOL, like back in the day? I don't know if you guys are like the same age as me, but like, I just had to think of something. It was like, I was almost SNES Dog. And I was like, no, that's too gimmicky. That's too stupid. So
with the AW?
So you went with Drunk.
Sure, yeah. I was like, okay, well, if all else fails and I can't do the review thing, I can just do a Let's Play series and just like drink and enjoy a beverage and play some old games. And I do that occasionally, but
gotcha.
It's mostly just a name.
Wasn't your AOL Pikachu Master or something like that?
So let's move on to a thing that we like to do with our guests at the beginning of our podcast. And if you're fine with it, it's a series of rapid fire questions, relatively unrelated. Most of them have nothing to do with video games, but just want to kind of hit you up and get kind of the first thing that comes to your mind, and then we'll move to the next question. Cool.
I love that you always ask permission, Dustin. One of these weeks we're going to have a guest, and they're just going to be like, no, I don't want to answer personal questions.
No thanks.
That's fine. I'm going to do it anyways. All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Strap on your shoes and your helmet.
That's something you say to people normally.
You could have done better than that. Like, upgrade your leg armor.
Oh,
you gotta stay thematically appropriate.
There you go.
All right. Seinfeld, Friends, or The Office? Only pick one.
Seinfeld. Definitely Seinfeld.
Jerry Kramer or George?
I can relate better to George.
Nice. Do you have any tattoos?
No, I have no. I hate needles.
Oh, so no
Fair.
plan for tattoos?
No, absolutely not.
Which is your starter, Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle?
Pokemon came along when I was like 14, so
you skipped it.
Like, just missed like when I would have been interested. I was too cool for school at that point. I was listening to like Slayer and all that stupid crap. So Slayer's not stupid crap. I'm just talking like that's where my mind was at that time.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
have you ever been to Hawaii?
No, I have not. I've been to Japan, but I've never been to Hawaii. So I've flown over Hawaii.
Do you want to go to Hawaii?
Sure, why not?
I
We're going.
That, but awesome. What's your? Just based on your name, what's your go-to alcoholic drink?
It used to be Jameson and Tullamore Dew, Irish whiskeys, but lately I've been trying to get into the snooty, more expensive stuff like Ardbeg, and the Glenveigh is another one that's awesome, especially like the 15-year, the 18-year. The only trouble is that they're so freaking expensive, so I can't justify dropping like $80 a week or whatever on some of this stuff sometimes. So you got to pick
one of the reasons I just drink water. What's your go-to non-alcoholic drink?
Oh, I usually just drink water, actually. I don't drink any soda or tea or anything like that.
Solid choice.
What's your go-to to-go fast food restaurant?
What? It makes me sad, but Quiznos, but there isn't a Quiznos around here anymore. The last one in here where I live just closed. I think the only one here is in the airport. So
terrible. What's your favorite video game genre?
Oh, probably it's got to be the old school JRPG.
Okay, what's your favorite Final Fantasy?
If I had to pick one, it's probably Final Fantasy VI.
Very good choice. What's your favorite video game console?
Well, the Sega Genesis has a lot of qualities that people that kind of go overlook. No, obviously it's the Super Nintendo.
SNESdrunk. I'm like, well, you got to change your name.
Yeah.
What's one of the most difficult games on the SNES?
Oh, my go-to for that is always Hagane. It's not really a well-known game, but it's a side-scrolling platformer, 2D platformer. It's absurd how hard that game is. It's everything.
It's everything. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no. I was just going to say it's just a nightmare because you have so many attacks at your disposal. Every button on the controller does some crazy ninja attack of some kind. But everything is so fast and everything is just out to get you, out to ruin your day. And it's the worst.
Speaking of Super Nintendo, give me 3 essential Super Nintendo games.
Super Metroid, Link to the Past, and Chrono Trigger.
Boom.
Oh my goodness, he had that ready.
That was the most
and I don't even
ready
think you can
answer.
argue it.
And
No,
so
you
true.
can't. Golly. All right, final question. How many cats do you have?
0. I used to have a cat back in the day, and she lived to be 19. But I'm more of a dog person.
So
Good
0?
answer.
0.
Okay, speaking of 0, he is the coolest character in the entire Mega Man franchise, and he makes the first appearance in our Retro Game of the Week, Mega Man X.
That's right.
You just
But what if he would have said 1 cat or 2
Yeah.
cats?
I would have
What
asked
would-
dogs. I would have gone to a different pet.
Okay, I was going to say, what
It
was your
worked.
backup segue there? 'Cause
It worked.
You got lucky.
First
is
try.
What happened.
First try. That was beautiful.
That
That
was
was a
well
work
done.
of art. All right. Before we go into overview, GBA Gamer Girl. That's Jessica, I think. She's in Twitch checking us out live,
Yes,
and a few others. Hello.
Howdy to all of you guys watching
Family.
our faces this morning.
All right. Unfortunately, I got to talk some more because I'm doing the overview. Let's go.
Great.
Mega Man X, or Rockman X, was the first Mega Man game for the 16-bit console, and it was the first entry in a very successful spin-off series to the original Mega Man series. So as a part of this podcast, SNES, we played Mega Man 2 so far. That's really the only
That's
only
the
one,
only
right,
Mega
guys?
Man title we've played.
On
yeah.
the podcast.
Yeah, on the
we
podcast.
personally played
I'm
more.
really excited for the week that Mega Man 3 comes up, because that's probably my favorite of the series, but...
Regardless, you are talking to Mega Man fans. We enjoy. I mean, I don't know if we're ultra fans. Nolan, I think maybe it's a preference of yours more so than ours. Not that we're against it. Like, we enjoy Mega Man. It's a great game. But Mega Man 2 is the only Mega Man game we've played, and we gave it glowing reviews. We all 3 gave it our thumbs up. You know, obviously there's things that could be fixed. It's an older game, but Mega Man X came out many years after, in 1993, for the Super Nintendo, and it really is in all sense of the word an evolution. It's there's a lot of new features with a new hero. You're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, SNES, but because I know he looks the same, but if I understood correctly, according to the story, our protagonist is not the same beloved robot from the original series, is he?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think it's meant to be a completely separate thing. I'm pretty sure. To be honest, I don't pay a whole lot of mind to the whole lore of Mega Man, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's a completely different dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and they're not humans. I mean, maybe at some point in the story and the lore, Mega Man becomes a human, but I know that he's straight up android. Like, he's robot, and so he was created.
Becomes
This
a
one was
human?
created.
Some
What?
Pinocchio level business.
So, this, I mean, I'm sure, right, Kenny? You know, there's got to
All
be a
Mega Man wants
somewhere
is to
out there.
become a real boy.
That's right.
All it is.
That's what the story's all about. But I mean, the story, for those that are unaware, is that there are rebel robots called Mavericks who want to wipe out humanity, which is not a good thing. And there's a military task force of androids that have been created and programmed to seek out and stop these rogue robots. And among them is our hero, Mega Man X. And so SNES, what's your connection to, what's your relationship with this game?
Well, as Kenny said, it started for me with Mega Man 3. But the thing is that I did not have a Nintendo. I did not have an NES. I had to go to my friend's house down the street and play NES games. But it started with Mega Man 3. And what appealed to me about that game was there was this Nintendo Power article that had a chart of like how many boss hits, like certain boss weapons, how many hits from that weapon hurt that boss. And some it would be 28, some it would be like 4. I remember Top Man's weapon took out a certain boss in 4 hits. I can't remember who it is. It might be Hardman or something like that. But I really loved that there was an actual science behind the mayhem. You know, on the surface it looks like you're just running to the right and making stuff go boom, but it's just there's real substance here. Like they thought of this stuff. So when Mega Man X came around, I had a Super Nintendo, and I was just waiting. It's like, okay, they've done Castlevania, they've done Contra, they've made the jump with Mario and Zelda and all these other games, and I was just waiting and waiting for Mega Man to finally make the leap, and it does, and it's just 1,000 times better than I ever could have expected. It's just the best. Like there's the upgrades, the boss weapons are just as fun. Like it blew my expectations away. As I think I was in 93, I would have been 11 years old, so it was freaking awesome.
That's prime age to just like fall head over heels in love with a game forever.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it really is like Mega Man was good and is good, right? Like the original series.
Absolutely.
A lot of fans of that game, and so they didn't have to do anything new. Like they could have kept, and they did keep going even with the original Mega Man series, but to give us something for the new console that was an evolution that I felt like it was just kind of like a more mature version of Mega Man in that I don't know, just built up and added features.
It was really wise how they handled it, you know?
Yeah.
Keeping the same tone, but just shining it up, adding complexity, adding some extra moves, you know, changing the graphics to feel more Super Nintendo. They really took like the original game and then made it super. Like they did exactly what the console was supposed to do.
Yeah, it's undeniably still Mega Man. No one's going to argue that.
Of all the franchises that made the leap from NES to SNES, you could make the argument that they did the best job with Mega Man. You know, despite Castlevania's great, Contra 3 is great, Mario World from Mario 3, that's great, but the leap from Mega Man to Mega Man X might be the best out of all of them, in my opinion. It's really, really good.
And I was watching your video where you're talking about the original Mega Man NES games and how many of them were kind of overlooked because people were just ready for something different, I guess. After, I think you said 3 or 4, they were just kind of like,
They got less popular because they got a little repetitive, but they answered that so well here. So as you guys said, this game plays a lot like Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3, but with added shinies. You get, instead of a floor slide, you get a dash. Although you don't start with it right away, it's something you have to unlock. It's something that most people choose to unlock pretty early on because it's so important to gameplay as people are, you know, choosing what bosses and which levels to do in what order. The really common approach is to do the level that gives you your dash early. And you also have a really, really cool feature that I think is great, and that's the wall sliding and wall jumping. Gives you a lot more ability to navigate levels, gives them a ton of freedom in terms of level design for things that they can do to make things more interesting, gives you a ton of versatility in boss fights in terms of how you go about handling that. And so those were all great additions. And then besides that, you get the normal stuff. You get weapons that upgrade based on what bosses you fought and beat, and some really, really creative ones. We'll have to talk about everyone's, you know, favorite weapons here in a second. But you can also find and upgrade your armor as you go throughout, and that it gives you some new abilities. That gives you a number of better versions of the things you would have had anyway. So whereas in the original series, you kind of had just a basic set of moves and just weapon upgrades, here you get even a few more moves that you can do, so a little bit more fluid gameplay, and then a whole bunch of other upgrades that you can find and collect, and it really fits with that tone. But
this is a question that we regularly have to ask when it comes to Mega Man. Which is your favorite boss ability. You know, when you defeat one of the Mavericks, when you defeat one of the bosses, you get an ability that you are able to shoot from your blaster. Which one was your favorite? SNES, start with you.
You can't beat a flamethrower when you beat Flame Mammoth, and you just have, especially when you get the X-Buster upgrade, and you charge it, and it's just a wall of fire. You just can't beat that.
Oh yeah,
and that's as good
awesome.
as it gets right there.
So good. Nolan?
I was gonna say that. So that the flamethrower one.
Whoops.
Outside of that one, I do like Penguin's ability, the ice buster, and it does like the little spray. So I thought that was pretty useful.
Yeah, that's really cool when you can freeze the Spark Mandrill boss.
Really helps with a few of the bosses. Yeah, absolutely. Dustin, how about yours?
Oh, really? No, that's fine. That's fine. The seeking the homing torpedoes, like when you don't even have to face the enemy that you're trying to hit, that's always super nice.
It's convenient.
And then shotgun ice is really good. I use that regularly. That's Penguin. That's Penguin's thing because it can freeze, but then also like it's shotgun. So after it shoots, once it hits, it kind of explodes and sprays. So both of those I really liked. But I used most probably the Chameleon Sting one. It shoots out three
That's
beams,
a cool one.
and so you can get a lot of people, a lot of enemies that are at different heights on your screen.
It's some of those sort of like upgraded abilities that come with some of those weapons that I thought were the most intriguing. I loved the shield. Little blue bubble.
Right.
The
shield is super useful.
So good.
That's so convenient in a platformer. Just the idea of like those difficult platforming elements where you can still just jump from stuff to stuff and just run into enemies instead of having to worry about shooting them was crazy convenient. And so that one was probably my favorite.
That's probably. Oh, sorry. That's probably the. They did a really nice job with the shield because you can abuse the hell out of something like the shield if you keep it charged up. But they do a nice job with the balance of the meter. You can just sit there and watch the meter go down, and then
that's true.
It's gone.
That's so good. And then obviously when meters do go down, you're able to get... I think this game is very forgiving and very helpful in that it gives you a lot of drops where you're able to refill those meters.
Yeah. It is.
Fairly easily.
To some degree, I felt like that piece of the game at least was easier than the older Mega Mans that I'm more familiar with. Overall, I think it was probably a slightly easier game, though I didn't just breeze through it. I had to... use some save states or passwords, if you will, just the ghetto version of them.
Those passwords.
And so, but I didn't struggle with this one as much as I did with our playthrough of Mega Man 2. It was a little bit more fluid going through, and that's partly because they made it more accessible with, abilities and options you have, and were really intelligent with things, but it's also partly just because there were so many drops. They were pretty consistent. Yeah. And you could always go back and kind of like farm items if you needed. You got to an easy area with some minions, they respawn, and just so that's a little bit abusable. Yeah. But it didn't take away from the gameplay at all.
Let me ask you guys something. I thought it was really surprising. Very recently on my channel did a video about Mega Man 4 that Nolan referenced earlier, and in the comments, people were saying like, well, who cares about the boss weapons because you only use them on the bosses. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like you half the fun of Mega Man is using the weapons in the levels themselves. So do you guys use the weapons
on the bosses? But like that's the whole appeal of the genre is
that's what
changing
I'm saying.
Who you are and having fun with that stuff. I'm with you.
Okay.
I think they're crazy.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not the crazy one then. That's good to hear.
I'm with you, but I understand the sentiment because my personality is I don't want to... Like, I want to have... I've always done terrible with these kinds of video games because I want to have the energy or the ability that I need when I need it.
Right.
And so when I don't have to have it, I try to reserve it and try to protect it. Which is not the right way to play this game. I
think that's a lot of people's reservations with using the items outside of boss fights is because you're paranoid that, what if I don't get an energy drop to replenish, my ammo But in the older games, certainly, like, I used them non-stop. And this one, less so, actually.
Okay.
I agree. I felt like they were less necessary. I still used them because they were fun. But even in the platforming elements of, like, 2, and I think some of 3, it's been longer since I've played that, I felt like I needed those more to get through even the non-boss parts, in places at least. And I felt less of that here, but still chose to use them because they're great and fun abilities. That literally is the point of the game.
Right.
I love the charge shot of the standard suit too. I think that's such a good
it's
mechanic.
powerful too.
Especially
Yeah,
after
and
you
it
get
goes
the
through
X-Buster great upgrade.
Yeah. Which upgrades, let's talk about, because I love upgrades in any kind of video game, but when you've got a visual aspect to it also,
Absolutely.
brilliant,
Yes.
beautiful. When my Mega Man X, who's already cool, can change and get these white accents and slightly cooler, like anime-esque type vibes, that sells it for me, because
Absolutely.
I absolutely love when you get upgrades, but then when it makes you look cooler too, and so you can see the improvement. Game over.
And when getting those upgrades becomes part of the strategy of the game. That's what we raved about with 2 and any Mega Man we will. But that whole like sort of meta game of choosing what route you take and which bosses to take and which upgrades to take so that you have them for other bosses.
Right.
That is just genius game design. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go through the upgrades just so those that are listening can know what all you do. So like maybe we can all just even name and talk about one. But you get a helmet upgrade at some point, which allows you to burst through a few rock things overhead. Allows you to get to new areas and
Think
secret
Mario.
areas that
You're busting blocks.
Right, exactly.
So that's your helmet upgrade.
There's the dash. Would that be counted?
Absolutely.
So in the Penguin stage, you get the ability to do Mega Man's dash, but it's not like the slide on the floor one from the classic. It's my favorite part of this game is because you get this momentum when you get launched. So that's another one.
You can also combine it with your jump, so you can kind of like super jump.
Like jump and then move forward.
Yeah, you keep the momentum in air, which is the best part for me. It's just so...
Yeah. But then you don't know the stage that well, and you end up in a lot of holes.
You fall off to your death.
You absolutely do that.
You're really trying to move to a wall to grab it, and you're pounding that button over and over, and it doesn't take.
So that's helmet upgrade. That's a leg upgrade, Kenny.
I'm trying to remember other pieces of upgrades. Those were 2 of the most important. You have
just
an
think
armor
of the different
upgrade
parts of your body.
There's the armor upgrade.
Right.
And then there's the X-Buster upgrade.
Yeah, and then your weapon, absolutely.
Yeah, so the armor upgrade is you can just take more damage, and you don't get more health. You just take more damage, or you can absorb more. It doesn't do as much damage.
Right.
And then your Buster upgrade, that allows a second shot.
That adds the upgraded version of all the boss weapons, I believe. Correct?
That's right. Yes.
So you get to charge
the boss
unique
weapons.
Use the boss weapons, and you can't do it until you have that upgrade. So genius.
It's awesome. Yeah.
And they have a different function then as well, for the most part.
You hold down and it does the charge sound, and like I said, like with the flame mammoth flamethrower thing, it produces like a wave of flames ahead. That's like just so fun. It's just this unstoppable wall of fire. And
so you need at least some of you have to get at least one of those upgrades. I think it's hard to, you can't avoid it. But
you can't not get the dash. Like it's right
but the
there
other ones are
Penguins.
missable.
Yeah.
So just an awesome addition. Another thing that just amazed me, and I feel like this is the first Mega Man game that did it. I might totally be wrong, and you might not have noticed it if you didn't do the order that I did, but some of the stages affect some of the other stages.
That's right.
And so if you take out, is it Penguin first and then go to the flame stage?
Yes.
Then the lava that is usually there that you're threatening to fall into multiple, or like all throughout the stage, is iced over, so you can just run underneath.
Yeah,
brilliant.
There's other stuff like that too. I don't remember what causes Spark Mandrill stage to look all broken and like roughshod, but I think it's if you beat Storm Eagle first or something like that. But
I love it.
You go in there and everything's all busted looking, and the lights are flickering on and off, and it's awesome. It's such a good. How would you think to do that? Like it's such a cool idea.
I know. It's like it's. it's a detail you don't know you want until it's given to you, and you're like, oh
Absolutely.
my goodness,
This
what?
game was full of those little animations, little choices where you'd like kill a boss and the explosion of it would like blow out windows in the room you were in. Again and again and again, I had just little moments where something would happen and I would be like, man, they really thought about every little piece of this game. You can tell games that are loved and put a lot of time into because you find these little gems that are just like so well thought out.
And even on the first, like the tutorial stage, there's environment interaction. Like the enemies that drop down on you break the floor from underneath you.
Right.
It's like, it's
Tons
just little details that make the game
novel
so
stuff.
fluid.
With these games, we also have to announce our boss order. So I'll begin and just say that it's no surprise to any of you that know me. I followed a guide, and I just did exactly what the guide told me to do. So I went Chill Penguin to Spark Mandrill, Armor to Armadillo, Launch Octopus, Boomer, Sting Chameleon, Storm Eagle, and then Flam Mammoth, and then obviously did the Sigma's stages after that. Any of you have a preferred method of madness?
You always got to start with Chill Penguin because you get the dash immediately. But after that, I go to Storm Eagle stage because there's a sub tank there. There's a heart tank that's really easy to get to. And Storm Eagle's a really easy boss, especially if you have the dash at that point, because you can just power straight through his wind attacks. But then after that, I do the traditional, like, okay, I go to Flame Mammoth with the ice, or I go to Spark Mandrill rather with the ice, and then use his weapon to take out Armored Armadillo, and from there, traditional stuff from there. But
mine's completely like I did it blind because I don't know the optimal path. I haven't played it enough, and so I had some struggles. But I got through the game. Chill Penguin, I knew to go first because of the dash. I've seen this speed run several times, so I just know to not skip Chill Penguin. So I went Chill Penguin, and then I went to Launch Octopus, and then Storm Eagle, Armored Armadillo, Spark, Sting, and then Flame. So completely wrong, but I still had fun doing it that way.
That's the great thing, though, that there's not a wrong. Like, as long as you get through it, it may be less efficient than other ways in terms of having things for bosses, but like learning that and figuring out which attacks on which bosses is half the fun. I think games like this, pre-internet, when you as a kid playing through it had to figure all that stuff out and play it again and again and again to get there, were even more fun in a lot of ways than playing them today, with a guide. But I'm also the opposite of Dustin, and every time he guides a game, I scoff and act like I'm a purist. So,
hey guys, I'm sorry. Real quick, I've got somebody at my house. Can I take a quick couple minutes here to get rid of my dogs are going crazy?
You do that, and then we'll prepare for our next section.
Okay.
Go ahead and do that.
1 second. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Oh, sure thing. No. And we'll just cut that, so don't sweat it.
Yeah, no. I'll be able to. There's a spot there where I can end the gameplay section.
GBA.
While he's gone, let's talk to Twitch.
The oncoming traffic in that tutorial stage was really cool. I kept dodging it. It was like, oh crap! I thought I was gonna get hit by it, but it's just like cool details in the stage.
All of the artwork in this game, I mean, all of the details.
It's such. Well, I'll say I can't say now.
I know,
fair.
like there's only so much.
There's so much to be said. Like we're not even gonna get close to.
We're not close to doing it justice.
Talking about it, yeah.
No,
it takes a long time to talk about this game.
But she said earlier we didn't recognize, but did y'all know that the Mega Man X is not Mega Man? And in fact, I think there's been tons of Mega Mans in the series, in the lore. Like, it's not just one guy.
Character over and over again.
Yeah.
No.
It's X.
This one at least is distinct.
Well, they even kind of throw back or mention. Okay, so the Doctor.
Dr. Light.
Dr. Light, it talks to you when you get that slide in the Penguin stage and is like, I created you to be great like those before you or something like that. And I was like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
A shout out to the original.
She said she's shook by this.
It happens like, I think the lore of it happens like 100 years after the first Mega Man. So it's a completely different like time in
that's
their
in part
universe.
why, that's why Dr. Light is dead, right? Like Dr. Light wasn't dead in the original series, I don't think.
And that's why there's a new villain and everything else.
No, he wasn't dead. At least not the whole time. There were some games where he wasn't.
Right.
He's just a ghost the entire series. They didn't want to make him real.
You know, guys, I freaked out so hard when you got to the later boss. I forget the guy's name. The like main bad guy.
Wiley?
The first time you fight him.
Oh,
and he busts out a lightsaber. I about lost my business. I was like, I'm done.
Sigma, yeah.
Yeah, Sigma.
Nolan, talk.
Hello.
All right, just wanted to make sure. I thought you
were
here.
Disaster.
It's gonna be fun to edit. Jessica's asking if any of us read any of the Mega Man comics. I don't think so.
No, I didn't. I have seen one of the TV shows.
Speaking of TV shows, why haven't you watched that Zelda show that I bought you?
I just haven't got around to it.
You've had plenty of time.
I'm scared to watch it.
It's been over a year.
I'm scared to watch it because what if it's really bad?
It is.
It is. There's some great gifs from that show. There's one of him bomb jumping like they do in the speed run. Like he throws a bomb down, runs, and jumps and shields over it, and it launches him
awesome.
in the sky. It's prophetic.
Next time I'm over there, we should just plan to watch it.
We should. Wait, there's a Sonic the Hedgehog crossover with Mega Man? No,
it doesn't surprise me. They mixed and matched
don't.
everything.
I read some of the Sonic comics and enjoyed those, but like for these games, I always enjoyed it more so for the like secondary protagonists. I think there's an actual term for secondary protagonist. Okay. I don't know what it is.
Supporting actor.
Yeah, but like Knuckles and Zero are like
Tails.
The
I
red
like
guys.
them better.
Tails
is not the winner, dude.
Tails is the best character in Sonic,
Tails
hands down.
Kenny, you're not Big the Cat. You're definitely Tails. I just realized that.
All right, hey, SNES is back, right? You good?
Yeah, sorry about that. My girlfriend's dad is here to fix her car, so
no worries at all.
And my dogs do not like him.
Yeah, as long as we're still going on Zencaster, which we are, I'll be able to mute that part, and okay. I don't think anybody will know in post.
Oh, let's do this.
But so we're done with gameplay section, and let's go straight into aged.
With big games like Mega Man X, and we've done several big games, and what I mean is you've heard of it. You know, SNES said it earlier. Like even if you don't have a huge connection to gaming, or if you're a casual gamer, you've probably heard of Mega Man X. There's always an air of reputation that comes along with it that we have to address. So, and we kind of have already, but I mean, for me, just going into this game, I was a little intimidated because, you know, our podcast, we go over firsthand experiences with the game in the week. So I don't really get to go into all the details and like this was the first game to come out with this and do this and this. So just from a standpoint of I'm not analyzing the game, I'm having fun with the game. The game hasn't aged for me. A bit.
Well, one of the things that I love that they just placed into the mechanics, because it was one of my complaints with Mega Man 2, and maybe before Mega Man X they had figured this out, but in Mega Man 2 to change abilities you had to pause and you had to go into your menu, you had to select in this you can't, but you can also just use your left and right bumpers, man, and you can so flawlessly and quickly move abilities, and once you know where they are in the lineup, you could get really good at that and just move so fluidly, and so like that's one of the things that makes this game just one of the things. I mean, we've talked I could talk about graphics, I could talk about even the music, which we haven't talked about, I could talk about the character models that are near perfection.
Oh, they're great.
But really, it's some of the mechanics, it's some of the decisions they made with some of the details, as Kenny mentioned earlier, and some of the like hard mechanics that make it a game that really just stands the test of time.
I think the biggest thing that is kind of hard to spot at first, we talk all about the upgrades, about the boss weapons and everything like that, but what the game does so well is that it kind of matches the challenge. Yeah, X is really overpowered, but this game is not. That does not imply that this game is easy. I think it's a little easier than the NES games, but the level design here matches X's like capabilities and range of motion. So there's not like a Mega Man 2 situation with like the Metal Blade where you can just like go nuts with it and just kill everything on sight. But in this game,
which I did,
of course, everybody does. But this the level design, especially when you get to the Sigma stuff, some sections are so tough, but it's never unfair. And I think that's a big point with this game in particular that helps it age really well.
Absolutely, super balanced around what it does, and just again, you could see the thought in it, in the level design and all those things, and it's well crafted on all of its components, which is always a huge thing. Any game that you can look at and have a hard time finding a weakness or finding something to be critical about at all, usually that's a good sign.
I gotta say, if I had to I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, if I had to criticize like flaws, like I can't even. Yeah. What do you pick? What do you pick for a flaw in this game?
No, I always try and find something that I can be like, but it also didn't do this well. I don't know that you have much of that in this game for me.
Let me throw out one thing, and it might have just been my hardware, but I had some slowdown when a lot was going on at the same time on screen, and you've got that with older games.
Yeah,
but that's noticeable. But that's noticeable, especially in the minecart stage when everything's happening on stage at one time, and you're trying to shoot. Like it can get frustrating, but it's not insurmountable.
To me, that's almost some of the appeal of the old games, though. It makes them feel like legit, and there's almost some nostalgia there. But you're right; it doesn't break the game. Like, if I had to pull something, maybe a few of the, like, platforming elements of the levels could have been slightly longer. They're good.
Please, get out of here.
Oh, what?
Yeah, you're
no, but I'm just saying that ultimately there's nothing to complain about with this game. I'm agreeing with you guys.
Like, the boss weapons are all great. Like, I don't even know. Yeah. Like, that's usually my go-to, where it's like, the boss weapons aren't as good. But here, it's like, I use all of them, like, all the time, so.
As we're talking about age, I have to go back and correct myself a little bit. Last week when we announced that this was the game we were playing, I went a little bit hipster on us and kind of scoffed, because I like the original NES Mega Man so much, and hadn't played these as much, but knew about them sort of by reputation, that I was kind of like, it's not gonna shine a light on Mega Man 2 or 3. Like, I'm gonna come in and just wish it was one of the older, more classic games, and it can't really take it anywhere new. And I've played them a little bit, and it's almost too shiny and too fluid, and it just doesn't feel right. By the time I got through playing the game this week, I was over all of that. This is as classic a title as any of the others. I may still have a slight preference because nostalgia for 3 especially, and 2 a little bit, but this is a great game and definitely one of the best Mega Man titles. No, it hasn't aged at all. You pick it up, you play it, it feels fluid and great and genius today. There's a reason they've re-released all these games a million times on a million pieces of hardware.
All right, before we move into our final section and either give or withhold our vote for New Game Plus status, we got to shout out to Honey Badger, who is in Twitch. Hey, man. And Gamer Girl said, I didn't find it easy, more playable than NES Mega Man 1. SNESdrunk is right, tough but fair. I mean, yeah.
Maybe just more like fluid, maybe more natural.
Sure.
When I was talking about it than like easier.
Still tough.
It's still tough.
Tough.
I died a whole bunch of times and had to learn things and figure them out. And it's not an easy game, but it's just a little, less of those difficult hiccups and moments that you really have to just repeat. And
a couple of the boss fights, usually when you have the boss weapon that, it's like I said earlier with Mega Man 3, I think it's top spin. It takes 4 hits to beat one of the bosses. Right. It's like, well, okay.
Right.
But there are a couple boss fights in this game, in particular Launch Octopus. Even if you have his weapon, he's still a pain to beat because he's jumping around. He's doing his little spinneroony move.
I think that's what it's called.
Absolutely.
Is that its official title? Yeah, it's
Awesome.
It's really it's still pretty tough, even if you have that boss's particular weapon.
Right.
For sure.
Let's go into our summary section. All right, so it comes down to this. Do you give it your vote for New Game Plus status? Are we going to have some dramatic shift here at the end, or are we just on a minecart all riding happily
Some of us
towards the
secretly
same?
hated this game because we had too much fun.
Right.
And we wanted to have a really bad week.
I've been speaking through gritted teeth this whole time.
Yeah.
Right. Like you in particular hate this game. You just wanted us to suffer through it. So New Game Plus status is just a general thumbs up or thumbs down. Do we suggest our viewers go and find a copy of this game and enjoy it, or move on to our next retro game of the week and maybe play that one along with us? So SNES, we'll let you have the honors of going first. Do you give this game your vote for New Game Plus status? Yes or no? And then why?
Of course. It's one of the 5 best Super Nintendo games ever made, in my opinion, like objectively. Like if I remove all my own personal feelings from it, I think it goes like in no particular order. I think it goes Chrono Trigger, Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Super Mario World, Mega Man X. Like if I had to pick 5 Super Nintendo games, you're not getting better than those 5. So this is one of the best 16-bit games ever.
Yeah.
Do y'all understand how good those 5 games are?
I know,
so
like
good.
the SNES was crazy good.
Crazy.
I will
Alright,
never forget that week. I had never played Chrono Trigger. I'd heard about it by definition.
yeah. That was a big deal.
We played it on our
SNES.
podcast.
And we played it on our podcast. And the week that I played through that game and then we went through our podcast, my mind was absolutely blown. It's such a good title. There's so
you
many.
finished
Like
it in a
those
week.
5 were
Yeah.
well nailed.
Yeah. Those are my 5 best, and Mega Man X is right there with them. Real quick though, can I point something out about this game that I forgot to mention? With the dash button, the game defaults the dash to the A button. Do you guys change? I have to change that to the R trigger. I know that gives me a little limited mobility with changing boss weapons, but I have. Do you guys keep it as the A button, or do you flip it to a different button?
I didn't think about putting it on a bumper. That's so smart.
I
It's
changed it
so much
just
easier.
because. Yeah, I changed it just because it felt more natural to have my weapon more accessible.
Sure.
My weapon,
okay, I
like
see what
being
you're
X,
saying.
was weird to me, and so I wanted the weapon firing on that A spot, and so I just swapped some stuff around. I don't remember how, but I definitely changed it.
That's brilliant. I didn't even consider it.
playing
I
it again.
hated it being. It doesn't work over there because I had to do weird like finger things to dash
Yeah.
at times.
That's-
to
and
try
hold
to
the charts.
also
I
shoot.
hated doing that, so it's like I have to switch this to L or R, and of course R is going to make the most sense. So if I don't do that, I have to restart the game entirely.
Yeah. One of the things that does help is that you can double tap a direction, and that does some kind of dash.
That's
You
true.
know, and so. I utilized that a lot, but yeah, that button placement, but they were limited. You know, I don't know, you don't have much other options of where you're going to place that, but for sure.
I'll go.
Go.
All right. I can't. This is kind of a nod to the whole Mega Man series, but like making a game, making levels optional, and where you can choose the order must be one of the most difficult things to pull off well. And every game they nail it. Like, yes, there's an optimal order, but you do not have to do that. Yet the game still works and still flows, which blows my mind. And like, I just have to give the developers on this game and every Mega Man game super props for sitting down, making awesome levels, and then letting you decide how you want to play. So yes, I give this game my New Game Plus vote. Easily, please to go play it somehow if you haven't, and if you have, go play it again.
That's 2. What do you say, Kenny?
Not a surprise. It's definitely a New Game Plus status for me, but no one's shocked by that. What is a little shocking to me is just how heartily I give it that status. You know, I really did come in thinking I was going to be a hipster and just be like, it's not as good as the old ones, and it shined. It did what it was supposed to do, and I am an even bigger fan of both versions of the Mega Man series now after playing this game for a week. So for sure, New Game Plus.
That's awesome.
You want to know what's a little shocking to me? Spark Mandrill.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say something along those lines. And Scream, pack it up.
That's right, guys.
And,
Show's over.
I too give it my vote for New Game Plus status, and my only thing is why didn't I get to play Zero? Like, I get to play in future
X3
games.
Briefly.
Well, he's dead. He died in this game. Spoiler alert. But it's also a game from 1993, so get over it.
Exactly. Thank you.
I wanted to play the guy. You have to wait until X3? It's not even the next one?
No, he's in X2. I think he's in X2. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you do play as him briefly in the opening stage in X3. Yeah.
There's also
I'll just say
a GBA game where it's his game and you play as him and it's amazing.
Oh, right on.
I'll just say that going to Blockbuster and Take One Video growing up, this was the game that always caught my attention from that I would always rent and always take home. It's a perfect game to do that with because you can spend enough time learning it during that time. Buy the game also, but when you could rent the game for just a short amount of time, it's the perfect game to be able to do that with, that really captures you. And Zero was always the one that pulled me into these Mega Man X games. And so yeah, this game gets all of our thumbs up and is New Game Plus certified.
Right on.
We did receive some commentary, some thoughts from our loyal viewers. We're not going to be able to read all of the emails just for lack of time, but we will respond to them all. We've got to give special front of the line treatment and access to those that support us at the continue level or higher through Patreon. And so we'll start with Bill. He said, "Hey guys, hey SNESdrunk. I'm glad you're on the show this week. What an awesome game. When listening to the guys describe Mega Man X last week and hearing Kenny's assumption of it, I got excited to see if he changed his mind." And he did.
There you go.
Dustin, Mr. Completionist, did you get the Hadouken on Armored Armadillo's stage? Are you asking me, Bill, if I died 4 times at the end of that stage after having all of my upgrades and then went back to that stage, jumped up and received the Street Fighter's Hadouken ability? Yes, I absolutely did. Looking forward to the next episode and SNESdrunk. It was a good move to also do Sega Drunk. All your stuff is awesome.
Thank you. That's nice to say.
We also heard from Zion this week, and Zion said, "Sitting this late Friday night, loved the game. I found it easier than the other Mega Mans, or is it Mega Men? I played on iPad and found the game to be very good. The controls were not bad, and the visuals on all the stages were top notch. Of course, this was on an iPad, not an original game, and if this one gets NGP approval, I think I will look into getting the original. Thanks to all in Discord, and thanks to the 3 of you guys. Without the 3 of you, we would not have a podcast. Last, thanks to the guests for picking this game. I hope it gets NGP approved."
Oh, thanks, Zion.
Right
definitely go get a real copy. Definitely. Like, way better than the iOS version.
I was a little let down. I actually have Super Nintendo and the cart, and I couldn't get my Super Nintendo to work. I think my TV, the input that it needed has gone bad. And so I had to play this game emulated instead of on the cart, even though I had it in my grubby little hands this week, and it was so frustrating.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
We also heard from Jan. "Hey guys, I love platformers, and this is a great one. Not as iconic as the NES Mega Man, but still a great game. The gameplay feels smooth, the ability to wall jump is very welcome, the mini bosses and bosses are nice. At first, I thought it was slightly easier than the original series, but as soon as I entered the first real level, the difficulty ramped up quickly. And I think it's on par with NES Mega Man. I think you could even say the gameplay is better than the original Mega Man series. I really like the simplicity of the original series, but this feels like a more grown-up version. They both have their strong points. This game is great, and I can't find anything wrong with it. The only downside maybe is that it is a bit too difficult for some people, but I think that's what the Mega Man series is all about. This definitely gets my vote for New Game Plus."
Nailed it.
Right on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difficulty balance that we've been talking about. Like, Mega Man games are hard.
Yeah, and I like
but they're
that.
rewarding.
Yeah.
I mean, not every game can be the first level of Super Mario World, where you just hop and bop on through.
Burn.
Right.
Yeah. Sick burn on Mario out of nowhere.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. I think that's a lot of the charm in this game. And these games are hard for me. Like, I'm not just naturally good at these games, but it's so rewarding and so worth it in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dustin, I think it's time. Are we going to find out what we're playing next week?
Nope, we've got one more email.
Okay, fine. You know I'm excited to hear, though.
One more email from Jessica. She said, I wasn't planning to email because I didn't get very far, but the lads in Discord encouraged me to email anyways. A week with Mega Man X, and there are two things that are truer than they have ever been. One, Mega Man games are super cool and super hard. And number two, I am not very good at Mega Man games. I think that was three. But we didn't have a lot of game rental options, so Mega Man was always something I was aware of because of gaming mags. But I didn't really have much opportunity to play any of them until I was playing NES and SNES ROMs on my PC or Dreamcast in college. It's too bad it didn't come into my life earlier. Now that I finally can easily access everything I want to play from those eras, my playtime is limited, and Mega Man X, like all the Mega Man games before, depend on repeat play and memorization. I think that in the weeks to come, if I am not able to play along with future games of the week, I'll try to pick up Mega Man X some more. It's stunning, and even though I die repeatedly, I don't really mind it. I always feel that it's fair. It's just hard. I feel great relief when I realize I had to unlock the slide dash. I probably spent half an hour during my first playthrough saying, but I know that he can dash in this. And am I so much of a dud that I can't figure out how to dash? I've always wanted to be that kind of person who can beat Mega Man games and have opinions on them. The X series is gorgeous to look at, and this is as good of a starting point as any.
Yeah, it's the perfect game, having missed it, to go back and play anyways. It really is. That's what it's all about, and we definitely put this one squarely in that category.
You know, I just realized we've been talking about Mega Man X for like 40, 50 minutes now. I don't think anybody's even mentioned the music yet. Which is like a huge part of why this game is awesome.
But yeah,
it's Nolan's a huge music guy. That's usually one of the first things that captures him in a game. And you posted the soundtrack in Discord this week,
I did, because it's really unique. I mean, it's like a hard rock video game soundtrack, which, I mean, I guess in the SNES kind of, you know, there is a lot of that going on in some of the games. But man, it is, if you want to jam, go listen to the Mega Man X soundtrack. It's crazy. The composer was Setsuyo Yamamoto, and he also worked on Street Fighter and the Final Fight series, and it's genius.
Right on.
Now, Kenny, it is that time of the week where we randomly select our next retro video game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days. Before we do that, SNES, we always like to ask our guests, is there a game that you think that we should add to our retro master list? The only stipulations is that the game must be 15 years old or older. It can be any genre, any system. It can be a good game. It can be a bad game, a hard game, an easy game. It doesn't matter if we already have the game on the list. What's a game that you think that should be on a retro master list and at some point we should play?
Lately I've been playing Actraiser. So I don't know if you guys have played
not
that
on the
yet.
list. Actraiser?
Yeah, Actraiser. This was a near launch title back in came out a couple months after the Super Nintendo came out. So and it's made by Enix, developed by Quintet, and it's a strange hybrid of two different styles of side-scrolling action, 2D, and kind of like a simulation mode where it's like you're this little angel thing developing a city, developing a civilization below. It's hard to describe. It's one of those games you have to play for yourself and to see what's going on with it. But it's definitely an interesting title.
Awesome.
Well,
we will add it.
Absolutely, we will. And in the meantime, we will click the randomizer and find out what our next game of the week is.
I kind of wanted to stay Mega Man X, to be honest with you.
This is week 2.
That would be fine with me.
The next game that we are playing as a part of our podcast is the Addams Family. Da-da-da-dun.
Wait, really? The game?
Did you clap, Kenny?
Yeah.
It's clearly a
snap.
I know it's a snap, but like it just needed rhythm.
It's for the Game Boy. We haven't played a handheld game in a while.
This is
interesting. The Super Nintendo Addams Family isn't terrible. It's just a regular platformer, but I've never played the Game Boy version. Didn't even know there was a Game Boy version.
Hey, as long as the music gets into it, I'll at least put up with it for a few minutes.
It might be butchered sometimes.
Yeah, we played video games that don't even have the movie music in it, or tries to like do a shoddy remake of it, and oh well, we'll find out. It came out in 1992 for Game Boy for the original handheld system there, and
There were some good games on the original Game Boy.
Oh,
there
yeah,
were,
definitely.
and we haven't played enough of them. I need to make sure some of those old titles that I love so much are on our list. I'm going to check this week.
This game might not be in that list, but it will give you more time to play Mega Man X this week if you so choose. SNESdrunk, how can our viewers keep up with all that you're doing?
The easiest way is probably on Twitter. It's just twitter.com/SNESdrunk. I post all my stuff, 2 videos a week there. What's posting next week? Next week I'm posting a game called Dragon View. It's supposed to be the sequel to Draken, which is a super old, early, crappy, emphasis on crappy RPG for the Super Nintendo. But the sequel, it's kind of not really sort of sequel, but it's surprisingly really, really good. It's way, way better than the predecessor, so that'll be posting on Tuesday. If you just go to youtube.com/SNESdrunk, you'll see all my stuff.
Perfect. Really looking forward to checking some of that stuff out. We've watched some of your videos, high quality. In fact, Thanks. I think one of the first videos I watched on yours was on Final Fantasy VII. You've got at least one, I think, that
you would watch that one first, Dustin.
Yeah, one of the Final Fantasies. Final Fantasy's my thing. Anyways, hey guys, you've heard a few times mentioned in this episode, but you can check us out and talk to us on a daily basis through Discord. A very lightweight program you can add to your phone, you can add on your work computer, and just pull up throughout the day. And we have conversations about anything and everything, gaming related and non-gaming related. We'd love for you to come and be a part of that community. You can find those links on our social media, Facebook and Twitter at NGP Podcast. If you do go there to one of our social media sites, you'll probably notice something new. Nolan?
Well, we have been working on rebranding ourselves. So before we had this logo that I made in MS Paint when we started, and that's what we've been rolling with. So we have updated all of our graphics to this new, really cool, I think so, little character guy and a new logo. We love it. You'll see it on this video if you're watching the VOD, and all platforms. So we're really excited to roll that out, and we've got a lot of other stuff that we're working on, more content coming. So just keep an eye out for that and let us know what you think.
On that front, got to take a moment and say thanks to all of our patrons who help make what we do a reality. You guys' support means a lot to us. Got to one of our big goals just this past week. And so thank you guys for helping us get there. That was super awesome. And all of you guys' continued support by listening, supporting, talking to us on social media, checking us out in Discord. We appreciate it. Special shout out to Zion and Bradley for being producer level supporters. You guys are great.
Yeah, we really appreciate you two, as well as Ashton, Antonin, Bill, and Jessica for either becoming patrons or for upping their donation this week. They, as Kenny just mentioned, band together to help us reach our goal. They were all scheming to try to make us achieve this goal, and we did. And so what we promised is one additional bonus episode each and every month. So you can have the Kenny stare face again if you want, but that is what we'll be doing. And so in the month of May, which we are in right now, you will get a bonus episode.
Correct. And thank you guys so much for doing that. Like, you don't have to do that, but you did, and you're awesome. And we will work very hard to get you even better quality.
Absolutely. And SNES, hey, thank you, man, so much for joining us.
It's really fun.
Thanks
for having me. It's fun playing Mega Man X, one of the best games ever. I mean, what else could you ask for?
Yeah, we should be thanking you for picking that game to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. We've had guests before who have been just great guests, but have picked awful games. And so we've had to sit here and stare them in the face and say, we do not give your game a vote for New Game Plus
status.
We knew
Bro Cincha was going to troll us, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, we've had some rough ones, but this one was probably one of the better games that we played with a guest. So thank you so much.
Oh, right on. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Join us next week as we play the Addams Family on Game Boy. Until then, I'm still Dustin.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Nolan.
And that's SNESdrunk, and this has been New Game Plus.
Peace.